Hi, Rob. How are you?
Hello, Camila. How are you doing?
I'm doing fine. I'm doing actually great. I'm really happy to be here with you. I wanted to thank you for agreeing to participate in my channel. I've been wanting to have I've been wanting. It's not hard to say, is that?
I've wanted. This is a
I've
fake
wanted.
word, so it
I've
works
wanted.
better with I've wanted.
I've wanted to have a lesson with you and forever.
Mm-hmm,
And
mm-hmm,
I'm so glad I could find a common availability.
mm-hmm. Or a time slot that worked for both of us.
a
Mm-hmm,
time
mm-hmm.
a time slot that worked for both of us. Thank you,
Yes, yes.
and also thank you for
No,
participating.
thanks for having me. This is
Yeah.
usually the kind of thing that people say whenever they're being interviewed, and I understand that the dynamics here is somewhat different, but it is an absolute pleasure, and I am keen to discuss the topic that we have selected for today. It's not an easy one, but I'm sure that it will be a very fruitful discussion. So thank you once again.
Yeah, thank you. Thank you for recommending the topic. By the way,
Mm-hmm,
you came up with such amazing suggestions for
mm-hmm,
this
mm-hmm.
conversation, and then yeah, so this topic we are going to talk about this how TED Talk has influentiated,
Has influenced, has
influenced
influenced, mm-hmm,
how TED Talk has been
mm-hmm, perhaps.
influencing people to find, maybe
Mm-hmm,
find easy strategies or easy, quick fix solutions to their problems.
mm-hmm, mm-hmm. Absolutely, absolutely.
That's
And
really interesting.
absolutely. It's actually quite hard to pinpoint what the main argument of the text is because there are so many ideas. It's an
Yeah.
information heavy article, and I was a little worried after I sent it to you because, well, Camila needs a noun phrase that she can use as the title of the video. So, what is the text about? It's about self-development. It's about quick fixes. It's about TED Talks. It's about, replicability. It's about so many things, but I guess that's a very good place for us to start from. And if you don't mind, shall I ask you a question first?
Of course, yeah.
So, what is the text about?
Rob? Hi, Rob.
Sorry, that was me.
Sorry.
I'm
Was it
sorry.
you? Maybe it is my connection.
Yeah,
I'm not.
that was absolutely me. Don't worry. It usually
That's
happens,
fine.
once or twice a day. But we're back. Can you hear me now?
Yeah, perfect. Yeah. Yeah, yeah,
All right. Is this
yeah.
still being recorded? Yes, it is. So,
Yes.
what I was going to ask you is, by and large, what's your opinion about TED Talks? How do you feel about them? How do you feel when you watch a TED Talk?
Yeah, yeah, I must admit that I have never thought of them as fixed solutions because to be honest, they're so popular that and on daily basis we talk about that. Oh, have you seen that TED Talk? Have you seen that person that appeared in a TED Talk? That for me, without like further thought, I always thought of them as helpful, and I have even used some of them as a top of discussion in my lessons, in my Portuguese lessons. And other teachers, Italian teachers, French teachers, English teachers had used them
Everyone
with
does
me.
that.
Yeah,
Yes.
and it's very entertaining to talk about them. And to be honest, I have never used them. I have never applied any tip that
Mhm, mhm.
that they usually give in my life. But the act of watching them, it's very entertaining. I have seen them in forever, and I always leave those speeches feeling inspired and ready to
Mhm,
make a big
mhm,
change in my life, but then I forget about
mhm,
that.
mhm, mhm. Absolutely,
Yeah.
absolutely.
What about you?
Uh,
What is your
uh,
opinion on
I'd
TED
like to
Talk?
before we
Uh,
put me on the spotlight. I just want to latch on to something that you said. You used a few words that caught my attention. You said that they are entertaining, they are very popular, they are engaging, inspirational, and so forth. Now, interestingly enough, TED Talks are usually given by people who hold PhDs or they are, academics, they are college professors from all around the world. So why do you suppose that despite the fact that these are, shall we say, academic talks, why do you suppose that they are so popular? Because other academic presentations don't go viral. Other academic talks, are not being shared on WhatsApp. So what makes TED Talks so just shareable?
Wow, that's a good question, Rob. Um, maybe. Wow, that's a good question. I haven't thought about that. M- Maybe, despite of the fact that they are academical, the language there is used is easy. How can I say that better? Is
Maybe it's I didn't hear the word that you used. Which one was it?
easy, an easy
Easier?
language.
Yes, yes. Uh-huh, uh-huh.
The Yeah, because if I were, I have seen even physical, astrological,
Yeah,
like
I think probably not. I don't think that there
no,
would be TED Talks on astrology, but on astronomy, I assume there might
astronomy.
have
Yeah,
been
yeah, yeah, yeah.
some. Yes.
Yeah, thank you. Astronomical talks. And I remember thinking, wow, that's a scientist talking about universes and planets
Mm-hmm,
and so
mm-hmm.
forth. And I'm understanding. So yeah, it's easy to understand, but not
So
really because,
captivating, right? Uh-huh.
yeah, captivating. And I understand what he's saying. Yeah, and I wouldn't think that I could attend to a seminar, a workshop, I don't know, a software, something, engineering, and I could understand. But when they talk about those topics on TED Talk, you can actually understand. And maybe it's the language, maybe the concepts are very easy and not advanced at all. And it's very in the surface.
Yeah. Mm-hmm, mm-hmm, mm-hmm.
Yeah, yeah.
You hear those fireworks? I suppose someone must have won a football match. But
No,
don't you? Okay, great.
yeah.
But I think that what you're saying is that TED Talks are very relatable, right? The ideas that are being presented are very easy for us to relate to. And I think that part of that is because the language that is used, in addition to being simple, is very personal. And
Hmm.
this is perhaps, in my opinion, the greatest discrepancy between TED Talks and other kinds of academic, genres or presentations. In general, presenters will be talking about their families. So if it's a TED Talk about astronomy, maybe the presenter will begin by saying that, just the day before he was sitting with his daughter and he was stargazing, and that led him to think about this and that. So by and large, it's a way of presenting ideas through storytelling.
Yeah,
And this is, it blows my mind because it's so simple,
yeah,
but at the same time, it works wonderfully well to make whatever topic you want more captivating. Just feature a story, just tell the story. And I think that's the reason why TED Talks are so hypnotizing. These are stories. It's not just about, okay, let me show you this diagram about the orbit and gravitation. It's about me with my daughter stargazing.
yeah.
And,
Would
and I think that, sorry.
no, no, no. Sorry, sorry.
No,
Can you
please,
hear
please
the
go ahead.
bells now?
Which bells? No, I can't.
There is
Is
a
it church? No?
church. No, no, no. I rented this apartment and I didn't knew. I mean, I knew there was a church nearby, but I couldn't think further and realize that having a church would mean that the bells would ring, and it's not a simple church. It's a church with,
Mm-hmm.
how can we say, ceremony, misa in
It's
English?
a service. They hold
Service.
services or they hold a mass there. Uh-huh.
Yeah, they hold a mass there every hour. So I have
A lot of
bells
noise.
yeah, starting 5 a.m., 5:55.
God Almighty.
Yeah,
Well,
yeah.
well,
So,
well, well.
but it's good. You cannot
But I think
hear.
that it's one of these things that eventually become white noise. I think that after you have lived there for a while, you
Yeah,
won't even hear the bells
yeah. The neighbor
anymore.
said
So
that. Yeah, yeah,
yeah.
yeah. They said that. But yeah. But I was going to ask you if would you like to give a presentation? Would you give a presentation, a TED Talk?
Absolutely.
Yeah?
Absolutely. And I know that maybe this is not the modest thing to say, but
Mm-hmm.
when I graduated from my undergraduate course, I was given the privilege of giving a speech, and I was able to speak. They didn't tell me how long I was supposed to speak for, so I just spoke for 18 minutes, which I
Wow.
guess amounts to a TED talk. And I spoke about language, which is my innermost passion, my lifelong passion. And if I were given the opportunity to give a TED talk, I would definitely talk about how we need to be very mindful of how we use language. I don't mean, grammar wise. I don't mean that. I mean that we have to be very mindful of the impact that our words can have upon the world.
Wow.
So that was what I spoke about. What about you? Would you like to give a TED talk?
Wow, I'm fascinated by the topic of your choosing, and that
Mm-hmm.
even in Portuguese, right, our native language, we have to be mindful of the things we say
Mm-hmm.
and our body language and everything. I find that fascinating.
Mm-hmm.
If I were given the opportunity to give a TED talk, I mean, I don't think I would, but
Why
if
not?
I don't
Why
know,
not?
but let's say um, I would I would probably talk about either books, literature, or meditation. Those are I mean, I'm passionate about languages as well, but those, I mean, reading and writing, I find it to be my greatest
Mm-hmm.
passion in life, I'd say.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
Mm-hmm.
yeah.
Could you give me, whenever people give a TED talk, there is usually a title, right? So
Mm.
it's not only meditation. So can you think of a title? What name would you give to your TED
Mm.
talk?
Wow, you have such great questions and difficult also.
I'm sorry.
Okay, so let's see. Mm. Have you ever heard of the book O Encontro Marcado by Fernando Sabino?
No, I haven't. No, no, I haven't. Wasn't there a TV program with that name? Wasn't there like a
Não,
celebrity
não.
gossip TV program or something with
O
that
Encontro
name?
Marcado.
I think
O
so.
Encontro Marcado.
With Luis Gaspareto or something. I mean, he would
Não,
dwell on spiritual matters, I think. But that
não.
must have been like
Mm.
15 years ago. But please go on.
So he has this book called the. How can I translate this? The book date. I don't know the date, the Saturday date. I don't know how to translate o encontro
Sorry.
marcado. How could I translate
Yeah,
the
my the
date,
English teacher in me wants to say appointment, but it's
the
definitely not an
appointment?
appointment. No, 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 no. Please don't go down that road. I don't know. I don't know because I don't want to say date. Date sounds romantic,
Yeah.
and I think that's not what you mean.
No,
Uh,
no. It is an appointment. It is. It is
or
an
a
appointment.
meeting, an
The
encounter.
meeting. Yeah, yeah. So maybe it would be the meeting. I love the title, the appointment with maybe with the appointment with yourself, something like that.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm,
And
mm-hmm,
then I would try to discuss how literature has given myself back to myself several
mm-hmm,
times. I
mm-hmm.
was going down some roads,
Road. Uh-huh.
roads, yeah. And then by reading other stories, I was restored back
Or
to
I was brought back.
I
Yes.
was
Uh-huh.
brought back to myself and how one
Absolutely.
could find themselves in other stories. Uh,
There is a beautiful word that we can apply to this context, and it's the verb to recenter,
mm,
right? And I think that what you are describing here is a recentering. experience? You were sort of drifting away or drifting apart from yourself. You were being led astray by whichever stimuli, whichever things were happening in your life, and
Yeah.
literature sort of guided you back
Yeah.
and helped you to find your way back home, as it
Yeah.
were, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
And
Yeah. And
this is interesting. Sorry.
just today I bought this book.
Borges,
Have you
yes,
read it? I've
yes.
been.
I've read a few short stories.
Yeah.
Yes, yes.
Yeah. Yeah.
A
Sorry,
bit
I
too
interrupted you.
experimental for my taste, I think, but undoubtedly very, very, very important and mind bending in a way. But
Wow.
let me bring our attention back to something that you said. You
Mm.
said that one of your interests is meditation, right? And there are hundreds, perhaps thousands of TED Talks about meditation. And in some of these, people will actually invite members of the audience to meditate in real time. And I think that a lot of people have come out of a TED Talk feeling that they needed to start meditating right away if they wanted to deal with problems such as insomnia, anxiety, some kind of inner turmoil that they might have been harboring. So why did you start to meditate? Was it because of a TED Talk?
No, no, but now that you mentioned, uh, it could be one of perhaps the only TED Talk that might work now that you mentioned, because most of the TED Talks, like, I mean, they could work, but they won't cure depression or several severe illness,
Hmm. Hmm.
mental illness. But yeah, they could improve your life. I remember once I watched a TED Talk about how journaling could help you. It's true. If
Do
you
you
make that a
journal?
habit, I do. Yeah,
Yeah.
if you make that a habit, if you journal every day and then you read, that was actually an advice that a friend of mine, he's a teacher, his name is Eliakim. Perhaps you
Mm-hmm.
have seen
Hmm.
a video of
I
his in my
might. I think
channel.
I think I have.
May
Yes. Uh-huh.
He's also a teacher in italki, so he gave me an advice of, but there is a TED talk about that. But he said he would write journals and then he would read the journals every 3 months. He would read it all, and then he will notice by reading that there were things that he couldn't say about him, the functioning of his mind that was there, that by reading. So for example, he had a pain, he had a thing in his wrist,
Mm-hmm.
but and he thought it was something that happened one day, but he could see by reading the journal that he was complaining over the months about a minor
Mm-hmm.
pain, and
Mm-hmm.
then the problem was that, so if you write and if you read, that could be
Mm-hmm.
therapeutic.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely, absolutely. It could, and it could play a part in your healing process, right?
Yeah,
I think that journaling in particular is perhaps amongst all the things that we have mentioned, my personal favorite. I have been journaling for almost 10 years. And
really. On
yeah,
paper or on computer?
no, I do have a. I can show it to you. Oh my God! Please blur this when we post this video so that people won't read my thoughts. But I do have actual, notebooks, and I am a very
Wow,
boring, dry person.
amazing.
So there are no illustrations. No, I don't paste and things. These are just words.
No, we cannot read.
Words and words and words and words and words. And I think that out of all the things that I have done, this is the one thing that has consistently kept me on track. Because I do believe you mentioned therapy as well. And
Mhm.
I had a therapist many years ago, and she told me something that has stayed with me ever since. She said, the subject that writes reaches further than the subject that speaks, or the
Wow.
subject that writes goes beyond the subject that speaks. So there is this
Wow.
magical thing about writing, which is that whilst you are writing, you discover things about yourself that you didn't even know you knew.
But
Right?
by writing or after when you're reading or
By
both?
writing, like
Really?
while you're writing, right? Hasn't that ever happened to you? You're writing something and you're suddenly struck by an idea that you didn't even know you had in your mind. Didn't that happen to you?
Wow. Well, I mean, Another advice that Eliakim has given me, or gave me,
Given, has
has
given.
given me, was that I should write freely without editing what I'm writing in my mind. But sometimes what I do is because I write in the computer, I'll be writing freely, but then the idea of someone wrecking my computer and reading my words, it's that will make me maybe edit and change the story. And just what I usually do is just I tell my day. I wouldn't like to forget the days that I have, especially the
Mm-hmm.
bad days and the happy too, the extremes, like both happy and sad, like. But other, I mean, I should probably do it on paper. It could be, yeah, on computer sometimes
This
I'll
is
be.
my, yeah, this is my preference, not only because of the, not only because writing in a notebook makes it harder for you to edit your own stories and entries, but also because it slows you down. You know,
Mm,
you're a teacher, so you probably type quite fast.
yeah,
You probably, it's easy for you to write a page in like 10 minutes, but when you are using a pen, you have no choice but to slow down. So you have to carefully weigh every single word that you are choosing to put down. So I think this is another reason why keeping a journal this way is advantageous, because it
yeah,
forces you to, and you know, in a world where we can speed people's voice notes up, where we can watch videos at twice the regular speed, I think it is exceedingly important that we have opportunities to go in the opposite direction and
yeah,
slow down.
yeah. And how does that work? I'm very curious now. So do you time yourself when you're writing in your journal? Do you allocate some time at the end of the day where you won't be bothered for a certain amount of time? How does it work?
I am a morning person, so I
Mhm.
am much more likely to write early in the morning, you know, 6 a.m. or something like that. That's my favorite time of day. And I know that according to your preference, like you said, oh, I like to report on my days, so it doesn't make sense. But for
Yeah,
me, I'm usually writing about whatever is on my mind. So at the very beginning of the day is best for me, especially because after that, you know, I get into my working mode. So I start thinking about classes and preparing stuff. And at the end of the day, I'm usually tired. So it's usually best for me to do it first thing in the morning. What about you?
no, yeah. For me, it's usually at night. At
Mm-hmm.
night, yeah. So
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
what I do, I set an alarm and I do that for about 10, 15 minutes.
Mm-hmm.
That's
But why?
that's what
Why do you time yourself?
I find myself. I'm trying to come up with a solution to an anxiety that I'm that's been occurring throughout this pandemic. That it's not the fear of missing out, but it's I have so many interests, so many things that I want to do. I wish I had less interest, or maybe I should choose, because there are so many things that I want to do that I feel if I don't time myself, the day will finish, will end, and I'll look back and there were a lot of things that I haven't done. So, but that timing actually makes me anxious as well, because it feels like I have to rush through the process, and
Mm-hmm.
that's what you said,
Mm-hmm.
that's not happening. I'm like doing it
Mm-hmm.
very fast
Mm-hmm.
just for the sake of accomplishing or
Getting
finishing the
it done,
things,
right? Just
getting
ticking that
done.
off your
Yeah,
to-do list. Mm-hmm.
yeah. So I don't know. I have a friend. She teaches people how to organize their lives, and she told me once that we shouldn't have a lot of things. Maybe we should have one or two projects and not so many things, because it's not actually possible to perform well in every single thing.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, apart from
You
work,
know,
she
no,
said.
this is very interesting to me because I have been into. I think that all of us we are. You know, I'm 26, and I think that most of us have been through a self-development phase, or most of us have at some moment in time become interested in self-development.
Yeah.
And this happened to me when I was 17. You know, when I was in the last year of high school, I started reading obsessively about self-development, and more recently, however, it has dawned on me that one thing that I don't like about self-development is how it makes us instrumentalize things that I believe shouldn't be instrumentalized. You know,
Mm.
the other text that I suggested for this session was a text about how the only things that we can truly do meaningfully are the things that, and we don't have to agree with this, of course, but the only things according to the text that we can do meaningfully are the things that we don't do for a reason.
Wow.
The only things that we can do meaningfully are the things that we do for their own sake. You
Wow.
know, and I think that when, if I were to time myself, if I were to say, okay, we have 15 minutes to write, I would be turning writing into a means to an end. I would be turning writing into something that I would be doing in order to do something else. You know, I'm writing to alleviate my anxiety. I'm writing to sort of just keep my thoughts in order.
Yeah.
And I think that writing can only be meaningful. Writing, meditation, painting, these things can only be meaningful when you are writing, meditating, or painting because you are writing, meditating, and painting.
That's amazing. I
Does that
truly
make sense?
agree. It does. Wow, that's wonderful. I'm learning how to paint now. I am trying to apply mindfulness in creativity, and I'm just starting. I paint awfully. I'll share a picture of a painting with
Oh,
you.
you're definitely not worse than me, but yes.
But so I have a meeting with a group of ladies. We meet on Zoom once a week for 2 hours and we paint together. We sometimes won't say a word.
Can I ask how old these ladies are? Because I love the way you've described it. I'm a group of ladies, like
Yeah,
elderly ladies. How old are these people?
they are. Yeah, they're in their 60s,
The
70s.
the youngest one is 64, 65.
Yeah, the youngest one is me, I guess I would say. But yeah, I've met one of them who invited me to this group in a workshop, in a meditation workshop. She was describing how she doesn't do like formally meditation, but instead she applies meditation and creativity by painting, by drawing, and that other people talked about how they dance mindfully. How you said about talking mindfully, and I love that,
Mm-hmm,
being
mm-hmm,
aware of what's happening, being
mm-hmm,
present with your
mm-hmm,
words, with the things you're doing. And I sent her an email, and then she invited me to participate in this creativity group. And
mm-hmm,
I'm trying to
mm-hmm,
discover, because I was never very artistic at
mm-hmm,
all. So I'm trying to. One day I was doing calligraphy, and now I'm learning how
mm-hmm,
to paint with watercolors.
mm-hmm,
And
mm-hmm,
that's it. It's just for the sake of painting. We just get together. Sometimes we won't say a word. We'll be there. The Zoom will be there, and I'll be here with painting, and then I'll look. Oh, that's awful. But I'll
mm-hmm,
hang on the wall anyway.
mm-hmm.
It's terrible,
But
but
at the same time, it's easier said than done, right? This thing of just doing something for its own sake is easier said than done, because I think that I don't want to suggest that I have learned how to do this, because even when I am doing something, I might be thinking, you know, this is something that is going to make me wiser, or this is something that is going to help me in the path towards enlightenment, or and I think it's not easy for us to let go of these
yeah,
influences, right? And for example, you complimented my English at the beginning of the class, and I am very very happy to hear you saying that. And sometimes students of mine will ask me, look, what is the strategy that you used? What is the which books have you read? Which exercises have you done? And my answer is always that I still have a lot to learn. This is absolutely, you know, just undeniable. But if I have come this far, and if you have come this far with your English as well, it's only because at some point along the way we have stopped to learn English for a job interview. We're not learning English for, you know, an international trip at the end of the year. We're learning the language because we are learning the language.
yeah, yeah,
It is self-sufficient. And
yeah,
if we could only apply these to other things in your life, in our lives, I think it would
yeah.
be so much better.
No, yeah. I like in the Buddhist tradition, they say that we should get rid of desires and also dislikes or likes and dislikes that like the maybe perhaps the enlightened will happen when we are not anxious about what's going to come or regretful about what has passed, but we are, I mean, they say that there is no place to go and there is no one to go anywhere. Like
I like that. I like that.
there's nothing to be done but to be here and exist, and that's
You cannot meditate and think, okay, am I enlightened? Have I
yeah, am I
reached
enlightened yet?
enlightenment? Right? You
Yeah,
cannot do that, right? You cannot be counting like how long it will take for you to get there, right?
yeah.
Because then it becomes something. Have you ever heard of the idea of Mac mindfulness?
No,
Have
Mac
you ever heard of
mindfulness. No, what is
Mac
that?
mindfulness? You can Google it. There are wonderful texts on it.
Uh,
And it's about how companies, especially in America, they have been encouraging their employees to meditate for 10 minutes a day, for 15 minutes a day, but not so that they can be present, not so that they can be more aligned with their own truth, but so that they can be more productive.
wow, wow. Yeah,
It's meditation for a purpose, right? And
yeah.
then it taints, it tarnishes the whole thing, and then it doesn't make sense anymore.
No, yeah, yeah. But yeah, so maybe that's the reason why TED Talk exists also for they're giving us those digested pills in order maybe the intention is that we become better to society or in a
Mm-hmm.
work in an environment, but just giving this pill like this pill and yeah, and this industry as you said of personal development, and we feel like we have to rush and we have to learn everything
Mm-hmm.
really
Mm-hmm.
quickly and not actually sit down and do how things were done in the past. We will go to a library and
Mm-hmm.
search in a
Mm-hmm.
encyclopedia and
I mean,
like
like, don't get me wrong. I love TED Talks and
I
I
do
watch them on a regular
too.
basis. I absolutely
Yeah,
love them. But I think that the bottom line here is that if you really want to change your life, if you really want to better yourself, you're not going to accomplish this by watching a 20-minute TED Talk.
yeah,
The road is not that simple. It's deeper. It's more
yeah,
laborious. It's not something that you can get done with a
yeah.
snap of the finger.
Yeah, especially if we are sick or depressed or lonely, or if it is very serious, we need more. Yeah. Wow. That was an amazing conversation.
Thank
So
you.
we
Thank you
are
for
a bit
that.
over time. It passed really quickly for me, flew. I wanted to say thank you, Rob. You made me reflect on so many important topics. I I do like TED Talks, as I said, but I have never
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm,
thought of them deeply. So
mm-hmm, mm-hmm.
thank you for the opportunity to think
Thank
this.
you. Thank you. And thank you to the New York Times for publishing that text so that we could be here talking about it. But
Oh,
it was a pleasure and an honor to take part in this project of yours.
yeah. So have an amazing night, and I hope we'll be able to talk soon. Yes.
Likewise, Camila, thank you so much. And I'll talk to you soon. Thank you.
Bye.